New Subarus tend to excel in capability, comfort, and practicality, yet their soul is often hard to find. Thankfully, the Wilderness trim is where the brand gets to let loose. For 2024, we see a few changes, like more fake grillage down here. The Wilderness also adds a Harman Kardon sound system and a standard heated steering wheel, all for the same price. I'm playing, no, it's not. It's $1,600 more expensive, though that's par for the course at this point, and you do get quite a bit of car for your money. Now, people that center their personality around their overlanding rigs may ridicule the Outback for its style, and granted, it does look like a Boy Scout after a Patagonia spending spree, but it does have some purpose. This big decal is supposed to reduce glare. These goofy bumpers are supposed to increase the approach and departure angles. And while the numbers there aren't amazing, it should be enough to tackle your Forest Service roads, maybe some moderate trails, or conniving medians in the Whole Foods parking lot. You have 9.5 inches of ground clearance here that comes from a suspension with increased travel. The matte finish 17-inch alloy wheels have plenty of sidewall and are wrapped in mild all-terrain tires. The cladding may be consuming paint like unattended 3-year-olds, but it'll help reduce rock chips. And while I miss the ability to swing out crossbars, you have fixed roof rails here that can hold a static load of 700 pounds. These gold plastic panels hint at where your towing points are, just in case you or your peers have a lapse of judgment. And for a similar reason, you also have a front skid plate. It's cartoony but functional. I think Subaru had some fun with the design and I like it overall, but let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Briefly, I'd like to thank Royal on the Eastside in Bloomington, Indiana for letting me test drive countless Outbacks to make videos like this possible. Royal East has a knowledgeable, honest staff, and they never marked up their new inventory. If you're in the market, check them out. It's not short on practical features either. You have standard steering responsive LED projector headlamps with some cool DRLs, trim specific LED fog lights, proximity unlock and lock, a power rear liftgate, and importantly, a 180-degree front camera. And the interior of the Wilderness is comparatively rugged and well appointed. So all of them will come with StarTex upholstery, which is a very durable synthetic leather. This spec also comes with more neat accents than a voiceover actor. Gold stitching, I mean anodized copper stitching, trim pieces, tags, badge imprints, and a black headliner. It's distinct from the regular Outback, but you still have plenty of soft touch materials for where your elbows rest, even where your knees rest. And while fit and finish doesn't rival the best in the segment, the build quality and materials feel appropriate given the price tag. And while they do implement a large 11.6-inch touchscreen that takes over some of the HVAC controls, I like that you have physical buttons for your defrosters, temperature adjustments, and volume and tune dial. The system itself is slower than the class average. I don't find the screen to get particularly bright or have an outstanding resolution, but the UI is simple and I think most people could get used to it quickly. Plus, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is standard with this setup, and you have a very straightforward analog gauge cluster with a little multifunction display. Feature-wise, this comes out swinging. It has a heated steering wheel, heated front and rear seats, and an available sunroof, though it doesn't offer some of the same features you would get with the touring spec Outback. And again, while this is more expensive than it used to be, it also includes the Harman Kardon sound system, which uses 12 speakers, including a subwoofer, to give you a pretty punchy sound experience that is good yet not luxury rivaling clarity at high volumes. The best feature, hands down, are the seats. So while they don't have the ability to extend the thigh support, they are plush with a driver's side lumbar adjustment, great back support, and overall they're well contoured. This would be a great car for road trips. The Outback also offers practical storage, though not as excessive as you may want in a rugged vehicle. We do have a nice shelf on the passenger side, a secondary sneaky phone holder, a deep pocket where you can accessorize a wireless charger, and a couple usable door cubbies as well. The back seat shows off this thing's practical side much more. So the seats, again, are very supportive. At 6'3", space is more than accommodating even if I'm sitting behind myself. Plus, you have rear console vents as standard and the ability to slightly recline the seat. And the cargo area, while it's not going to match a Toyota 4Runner, especially in height, it's a long, versatile space that you could easily sleep in if you wanted to. The inclusion of a rear seat release is handy too. On the road, the Subaru Outback Wilderness makes a whole lot of sense. Now for the road test, I am driving a 2023 with 7,500 miles. That way I can give this 2.4 liter turbocharged Boxer 4 more of a thorough test. And it's got plenty of grunt in the standard XT models, but here with the Wilderness, it actually gets a slightly more aggressive final drive ratio through tweaking of the rear diff and the CVT itself. This means we get the sensation of a little bit more torque, especially down low. This power plant makes the same 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque, all on regular fuel. But does that make it any quicker by the numbers? 0 to 60 came up in 6 seconds flat. Honestly, it feels identical to the XT when you're doing flat out acceleration, because this transmission really limits what this engine can put down from a stop. But I want to say it does have a little bit of a sharper punch to it there at low speeds when you get on it. Passing power is equally great, though I will add, even though you don't need to stomp on the throttle in order to get serious thrust, there's a little bit more of a delay, which is probably a combination of some turbo lag, but also the CVT getting situated.
Once it reacts, it does a consistent job of picking the right ratio.
This engine never really feels labored, and your max towing capacity is 3,500 pounds. Now, as you bring it up to 65 miles per hour, I am hearing a little bit more tire noise. Wind noise is still pretty muffled. Overall, it's not a noisy car.
And while you're on the highway, I think the comfort may help you forget the added tire noise over the regular models, but the gas mileage hit is a noticeable one, so keep that in mind for road trips.
Now, if you're buying one of these, I would sincerely hope that you're actually going to drive it off-road. So on top of the other Wilderness specifics I discussed earlier, the all-wheel drive system gets a slight change. Now, the basics remain the same. This is symmetrical all-wheel drive, which uses equal length half shafts to prevent torque steer.
The system is full-time and employs a multi-plate transfer clutch.
It also uses a longitudinally mounted engine, which further helps with your balance, and it also can send well over 50% of torque to the rear wheels, but it'll usually rest around a 60-40 split front-rear. This also gets the same dual function X mode that the Onyx editions have. That's going to use the brakes to help divert torque side to side, since this does not have any sort of proper locking diffs. One mode is more for snow and will more strictly limit wheel slip, whereas the deep snow and mud will embrace that. The only real distinct all-wheel drive advantage is going to be the low speed crawl mode, which in certain situations with X mode engaged, it will hold you in its lowest ratio possible to make for an easier crawl.
That's further facilitated by the aggressive final drive ratio of the Wilderness. Another helpful addition is that X mode can stay on if your wheel speed goes past 25 miles per hour.
Now, people have added things like locking differentials, lift kits, added underbody protection, and those things can make this a viable alternative to a Toyota 4Runner, though understand something like that body-on-frame Toyota is going to have better wheel articulation and more potential overall.
In other words, this was made for people with realistic off-road needs. It's also for the bold Subi owners that you see on Jeep trails with mild body damage.
We are working with that longer travel suspension, and honestly, you definitely can feel the added body motion. The steering is still pretty quick. It's just a little bit less confident because it doesn't match the suspension as well as you would get with, say, just an Onyx XT. Still, for an off-road focused SUV, it is composed. Just like you would get with other Outbacks, there's a little bit of a vagueness on center. It's a numb steering rack. It has a light weight to it. I don't think anyone is going to find this particularly engaging to drive, yet when you finally get this thing onto a back road that's beaten up, it just feels glued. And it isolates you super well while also feeling confident. Taking it over kind of these medium-sized imperfections, one right after the other, this thing is smooth. It's not jittery, it's not bouncing a whole lot.
It communicates some of the road surface to you. It lacks a reality-bending suspension, but it sails over the small to moderate imperfections, and it never jars the cabin as it shrugs off large potholes. The Wilderness suspension feels a touch softer and less disturbed while on broken pavement.
This would be an outlandishly comfortable car for someone that lives in the mountains or on a forgotten city street. And there's more to it than just a comfortable ride. Seeing out of the Outback, just like other Subarus, is pretty easy. You have a large windshield, a fairly low belt line, and limited blind spots, making stressful city or highway driving more approachable. And the safety features may give you some peace of mind too. Autonomous braking, lane departure prevention, lane centering, and adaptive cruise control are all standard. They work pretty well, and in the event of a collision, they're also extremely safe. Now, a big question in the past has been Subaru reliability, and I want to go over that. Head gasket leaks are an issue of the past. Excessive oil consumption has also been addressed. And after the PCM recall that caused transmission problems, I don't really have any concerns with the CVT either. Just make sure that you're keeping up with transmission fluid changes and fuel induction services to keep the intake valves clean on this direct injected engine. And thermo control valve problems have dropped off. The most consistent issues seem to be related to the infotainment and electrical system, weak stock batteries, and easily cracking windshields. Now, I wouldn't say Subaru quality control is up to the levels of Toyota just yet, and here at 7,000 miles, I have even noticed a little sunroof rattle, I think.
Owners also commonly complain about an unrefined auto stop-start system.
But overall, I would still feel comfortable recommending this to someone that highly prioritizes reliability. If you want something that is going to outlast the planet, just buy a 4Runner. The Outback wears its Subaru heart on its sleeve. If Subaru gives a damn about anything, it's being outdoorsy and reasonable at the same time, and this just takes all of that to the next level. You have an extremely comfortable ride, great practicality, passenger space that easily takes care of a family, and off-road capabilities that most people could not max out. Yes, you do sacrifice a little bit of the handling and a little bit of gas mileage, but in turn, you have a car with a lot of soul.
When BMW lets their engineers make the best product they can, we get something with an M badge. When Lexus does it, we get an outstanding Grand Touring car. When I do it, we get a travel series that 6 people watch, and when Subaru does it, it's in the form of a wilderness trim. If you need a versatile, easy to live with vehicle with genuine off-road capability, or just a Subaru SUV with personality and sleeper speed, the Outback Wilderness is the first to come to my mind. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like to help me climb the YouTube algorithm. If you want more fun, detailed car content without fluff, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Check out my Patreon for an additional podcast. I'll catch you in the next one.